Hey guys, welcome to Solar ReacTalk. Today I'm going to be reacting to a video requested by a viewer. It's called the Terran Institute Prologue Greater Terran Union Stellaris Invicta. Okay, let's start.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
On April 22, 2089, military space surveillance satellites from 9 separate nations began tracking a group of objects that had entered the periphery of the solar system. Within weeks, these objects had been picked up by civilian observatories, and when they became public knowledge, the members of the United Nations Security Council revealed that they were almost certainly artificial in nature and on a direct course with Earth. When the ships finally arrived in orbit on February 17, 2090, the outcome was apocalyptic. A hastily assembled orbital defense network was swept aside, and powerful alien weaponry annihilated dozens of cities in the opening few hours. Whether this strike was meant to force some sort of unconditional surrender or the first step in a genocidal campaign was never determined. A coordinated intercontinental ballistic missile launch from silos and submarines across the world disabled the largest and seemingly most powerful alien warships. Further orbital bombardment would be limited and sporadic. Over the next 7 years, mankind fought a desperate war across the world. In ruined cities and ash-choked landscapes, remnant military forces engaged a horrific enemy whose advanced technology and resources made defeat seem inevitable. Over a third of the planet was occupied, and those who managed to escape brought with them reports of horrifying alien atrocities and spires which poisoned the atmosphere around them. But even in the darkest ruins of the world, far from the front lines, there were those who resisted. An improvised emblem meant to mark the location of hidden munitions and clandestine airdrops slowly grew into a worldwide symbol of defiance. It was painted onto tank barrels and aircraft wings, carved on the stocks of rifles, emblazoned on artillery shells, and branded on the corpses of the enemy. When humanity achieved the unthinkable and the last remnants of the alien armies retreated from the solar system, this symbol was placed on the flag of a new nation, one that united all of mankind, the Greater Terran Union.
Okay, those of you who haven't played Stellaris, the game, just know that when you invade a primitive world with your armies, you're almost assured victory. I think this is the first time where I've actually heard that there's been some resistance and that resistance won. Usually in the game, once you come with an army of, I don't know, like 200 strength points or something, you can just wipe the floor with the primitive armies on the planet and you've won the planet for yourself. So either this empire that attacked Earth, didn't prepare well, or they didn't, invent technology like the neutron sweep colossal weapon to irradiate the planet and clear out all the all the beings on the planet and just claim it for themselves. Clearly, whoever was playing this game was not playing it correctly.
Yet in its earliest days, it existed simply as a last-ditch effort to prevent the complete collapse of human civilization. While the enemy had been defeated, the planet was in ruins. The global economy had been erased, famine was rampant, and the highest governing bodies of every major state had been destroyed, alongside tens of millions of their citizens. As the last organization still capable of operating effectively, an international coalition of various military forces assumed the responsibilities of civil governance. With the survival of humanity in question, the measures taken were severe, strict rationing, a mandatory one-child policy, and widespread martial law. Every available resource was put toward reconstruction, and opportunities only afforded to those whose knowledge and expertise could directly benefit this great effort. Millions more would suffer and die in vast relief camps where the barest necessities were exchanged for grueling physical labor. The price was immense, and even those in the highest echelons of the provisional government were horrified by the actions taken to preserve civilization. Across the decades, however,
I understand what they had to do. I mean, the world was at the brink of extinction, as they knew it, and they had to take drastic measures just to keep civilization, moving. Because if they weren't there, probably there would be warlords, there would be, mass murderers, and just a lot of chaos, So I agree with what they had to do, the amount of sacrifices required to make sure that there's a future, not for them particularly, but for the future generations. I know it's something that most of us cannot understand, but I, I, I go along with it. Yeah.
the situation began to improve. Crop yields increased, global communication was restored, cities were rebuilt, and the harshest measures imposed on the population were repealed. Eventually, manned space flights resumed, and the dissection of derelict alien starships still in orbit revealed astonishing new technologies and fields of study. Every effort was made to prepare the planet for a second attack, but by the middle of the 22nd century, it had still not arrived. In 2153, plans were announced that would see the emergency military coalition dissolved, replaced with either a worldwide civilian government, or perhaps, according to a few proposals, divided into several sovereign states resembling the pre-war nations of Earth. In a planet-wide referendum, the first and only one of its kind, the fate of humanity's post-war government was left in the hands of its people. In an unexpected landslide, humanity placed its faith in the system that had led them through Reconstruction, transforming the emergency military provisional government into the sole governing body of the human race. On July 11, 2156, the Greater Terran Union was proclaimed. The most striking aspect of this new society is the implementation of a tiered citizenship structure. A mandatory 4-year period of national service, either within the military or other recognized institution, grants every citizen certain rights, while higher tiers and their associated privileges and responsibilities are typically accessible only to those who have achieved a high ranking within the Union's national reputation system. Citizenship tiers determine everything from the type of employment a person is allowed to seek and whether limitations exist on their freedom of movement, all the way down to the amount of water allotted to their showers each month. The system remains fluid, with citizens often gaining and losing tiers multiple times over the course of their lives. A reduction in a citizen's tier is one of the most common sentences for minor, culturally specific criteria assigned for its reinstatement. While advances in technology and production mean that even the lowest tiered citizens can enjoy comfortable lives, the system serves to promote duty to the state and a responsibility to humanity as a whole. It also acts as an effective tool used to combat wastefulness or corruption, albeit at the expense of personal liberty. The predominant status of the military within
Okay, I was a bit worried with the tier system, but once they, told us that you can gain a tier level back if you have committed crimes or if you have done something bad, and they reduce the tier for you, you can climb up the ladder to get it back again. So I'm okay with that, and the system. Ability to eliminate corruption, I'm not sure about that. There'll always be a way for someone just to commit, corruption, no matter what office they may hold, or even the common folk on the street, corrupting the police officer or corrupting a magistrate officer or anyone, or anyone in that position of power can also be corrupted. So I'm not sure about it being something that will be a good deterrent against corruption, because I don't think that will ever not exist. But yeah, it sounds good.
The union citizenship structure means that almost every position of authority is held by individuals who have either completed their service or remain a part of the armed forces, with rare exception. While the government and military remain nominally independent of one another, the Greater Terran Union has increasingly come to resemble a stratocracy as the lines between civil and military service become harder to discern. Executive power is held collectively by the National Council, composed of 21 marshals, each responsible for leading one of the nation's federal executive departments. Criticism that this council has been too slow to respond to time-sensitive issues and too weak to lead the powerful federal bureaucracy has led to the appointment of a High Marshal, a position accorded the status as first among equals and granted special representational duties. Marshals are typically appointed to serve a 20-year term, although various circumstances can result in longer or shorter periods of service. Legislative powers are held by the National Assembly, a unicameral body that has grown to become almost ceremonial in nature, having rarely rejected a government proposal in its history. While a de facto single-party state, various opposition parties approved by the Greater Terran Union maintain nominal representation within the Assembly, although all must remain subordinate to the national interest. Both the National Council and
Okay, so the National Council and the what is it called? What's the high level of the government again? The High Marshal, yes. The High Marshal and the National Executive Council are the power base of this Terran Union, while the legislative piece or government of the Terran Union is just a rubber stamp institution, meaning that this is like a top-down government. Yeah, I'm a bit worried about that, because what kind of political power do the people have then? Can they choose who gets into the National Executive Council and who becomes the High Marshal, or is that power base only reserved for those who are in that council, and they're the only ones who can choose who becomes the High Marshal? And yeah, like, it's a bit worrying there. It is a bit worrying, but it's okay.
Assembly are headquartered in London, owing to that city's status as one of the first major metropolitan areas restored in the post-war era. London also serves as the regional capital of the Albion Commissariat, one of 17 administrative divisions established across the world. These commissariats roughly correspond to the borders of pre-war nation-states, such as the United States of America or the European Federation, while others govern large sections of the world in such a way never before achieved. A principal goal of the commissariats is to foster and promote the cultural dimension of worldwide integration, in which pre-war nationalist, religious, sexist, and ethnic divisions are eliminated. While no single language has been granted official status, Arabic, Chinese, English, Hindi, Russian, and Spanish are predominantly used in internal affairs. Proposals for a single global language have occasionally been made, without success as of yet. The state's policies emphasize a diversity of identity combined with a commonality of values, with individual practices and beliefs tolerated, so long as they do not conflict with the core tenets of the nation. The ability for every citizen to participate in the civil and political apparatus of the state without discrimination or repression is one such tenet. Not in the pursuit of any utopian ideal, but rather in the pragmatic belief that natural talent which might benefit the human race must be supported regardless of who possesses it. The most critical element of the
I like that. This is a secular state on the extreme. I love it. I love it.
Terran state is the armed forces, which retains the ability to assume direct control over the nation in the event its civil leadership were killed or incapacitated. Land Force Command remains the largest and primary branch, responsible for the operational readiness of the nation's conventional ground forces. A wholly mechanized army, it utilizes a combined arms doctrine in which an enemy's forward defenses are broken by overwhelming force, at which point fresh, uncommitted mobile operational reserves are sent to exploit the strategic depth of an enemy front. Air Command is the second largest branch, dedicated to achieving air and space superiority as well as facilitating rapid global mobility and strategic bombing. Advancements in aerospace technology has seen the deployment of Air Command assets across the solar system, typically unmanned satellites and drones, but also manned squadrons and picket ships. Smallest among the major services is Fleet Command, which maintains a largely automated armada of ballistic missile submarines that continuously circle the globe in anticipation of a second alien invasion. As developments in space continue and larger ships are constructed in orbit, there have been renewed calls to transition the service into the Terran Union's Space Warfare branch and the creation of a separate maritime service. Land, Air, and Fleet Command all maintain their own separate component services, including specialized naval and orbital infantry, as well as distinct special operational forces. Units across all three services have inherited the traditions and customs of previous armies and units from across the globe, resulting in an eclectic military culture. While the supreme goal of the military, and by extension the Greater Terran Union, has been to defend Earth against any further attack, in recent years a new objective has been declared. Advanced technologies have pushed the boundaries of human expansion, and the devastation wrought across the Earth has left an insatiable need for raw materials and resources. Already, the first mining and research outposts have been established across the solar system, and construction has begun on a wave of starships that will depart for distant worlds. A generation of sacrifice and hardship will soon be rewarded, for as man...
I love this military organization stuff. I wish we had something similar in the game, you know, where we could control Fleet Command, Air Command, Ground Forces Command. Well, we do in terms of the ships in space, in Stellaris, and also the ground forces, but that's about it. We don't really control the nitty-gritty kind of things in terms of military organization, which I find a bit, you know, it's not enough. You know, I want more administrative power in my empire when I play Stellaris. So yeah, and where they're building, you know, colony ships and, you know, trying to colonize different worlds. Yeah, this definitely also reminds me of Stellaris in a way. So yeah, let's continue.
Kind prepares to embark on the greatest journey in its history, it marches towards this uncertain future united in purpose and determined to never be caught unprepared again. Every wonder encountered shall be utilized, every terror overcome. And when those responsible for the murder of millions are found, every injustice will be repaid 100 and then 1,000 times over. The entire galaxy will know that they came to the wrong neighborhood and knocked on the wrong door. In Stellaris Invicta, the Templin Institute guides the Greater Terran Union into an uncertain future, one you can influence. Every Saturday, we'll live stream our progress on our Twitch channel, and viewers and patrons will have the opportunity to vote on decisions, help name planets, ships, leaders, and more. If you missed the live stream, you can catch up on what happened when the stream is published the next day to the Templin Archives channel. Then, once a month, we'll produce a video like this one, detailing everything that's progressed in the Greater Terran Union's struggle to achieve galactic supremacy. The first live stream of Stellaris Invicta begins 1 hour after this video has gone live. We hope to see you among the stars.
Okay guys, that was the Greater Terran Union. Yeah, it's an amazing empire, amazing country. One people, one voice, one destiny, one mission, and it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what religion you believe in. It doesn't matter your culture or your race or whatever, or your gender. If you can contribute to the greater Terran Union, then they want you. If you can have the courage to defend your country or defend Earth, they want you. It doesn't matter who you are. And that's the kind of message I love to hear, you know. And also the part where they were saying that your religions and your faith-based organizations, you can believe in all that stuff, you can believe in your gods, it's fine. But if whatever your activities are conflicting with the constitution of the Greater Terran Union, then you have a problem. And then they will come and prosecute you, and you'll have a lower tier. You'll have a lower tier. You won't have access to many of the benefits of those who are in the higher tiers. So I like that as well. It's a secular state to the extreme, I would say, and that's what I like as well. Yeah. Some of the things I wish we could apply in the real world, you know, like this notion of eliminating all countries and having one super country. I actually want that to happen. I don't know. Maybe not in the way we might have it here in the real world, in terms of the United Nations being that government. There's just too much talk. So I don't know if I wanted to take it that direction. Maybe I would want to take it into the direction of the Greater Terran Union with a kind of like a military civilian government, I would say. Yeah, because the Greater Terran Union is totally a military government. You know, you can't be in the National Executive Council if you haven't been in the military. You can't be the High Marshal if you haven't been in the military. So I wouldn't want something like that. I would want something of a mixture of both civilian and military life. And conscription also should not be mandatory. It should be optional, I think. But yeah, all in all, I like the Empire. I like the Empire. If I could make it in Stellaris, I would. I would. I think some of the things that make up the state, in terms of the laws, in terms of civil service and meritocracy, I think that's possible. But many of the other things, you can see that they just added them in to the storyline, which I also like. I like it. But yeah, this was entertaining, guys. Remember, if you like the video, you can give me a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Also, click on the notification bell if you want to be up to date with my latest videos. And this is the prologue. So if you guys want me to watch or react to the other videos that are in the playlist, because I saw there was a playlist there, just tell me in the comment section, and then I will get onto it as soon as possible. The next one I'm going to be watching is called the Antares Confederacy. I'm going to put the card right up here. Just click on it if you want to watch it. And yeah, see you guys next time.